Welcome to What to Do in a Nuclear Crisis. We are going to go over information about shelter. It is safest to be in a centrally located room in the middle or the basement with few windows. In the event of a nuclear emergency, depending on the situation, the public response should usually be shelter and shower, pending further instructions. Evacuation could be recommended later, but sheltering may result in lower radiation exposure. If it's a nuclear power plant accident or the explosion of a radioactive dirty bomb, you may need to evacuate. If possible, bring pets inside. The three important factors are shielding, distance, and time from the blast. For information about deciding whether to evacuate, you should see an announcement from your local government, and there are some online articles as well. Once you're inside of the building, you want as much distance and the thickest barrier as possible between you and the radiation. It is best, as I said before, to stay in a centrally located middle room or basement with few windows. There is some research that says that after you've been there for a while, if you're in there for a few days, you just want to avoid anywhere where contaminants are going to settle. Occasionally that, like the edges of the basement, if the contaminants are settling on the ground, near the edge of the basement, and on the roof and so forth. It depends on if there's radiation in the air. And as the intensity of radioactive fallout decreases gradually with time, you should not go outside until a trusted media source tells you to. And you do want to make sure that that is a trusted media source. In order to fact check, you can go to the Center for Disease Control website. And right here, if we scroll down, it says, why should I get inside during a radiation emergency? The walls of a building can block much of the harmful radiation. You can go to the middle of the building and stay inside for at least 24 hours. And that was the CDC website, and the title of that page is Frequently Asked Questions, FAQ, about radiation emergencies, if you need to look that up. So you should also shut off the AC or vents, avoid ventilation blowers or pipes, and that is so that radioactive air does not circulate and distribute the radiation. I did read in one research article that if you have to ventilate, make sure that the vent is not straight, but it turns, as apparently it's possible that radiation does not flow around corners as well. And that was from the Facility Manager's Emergency Preparedness Handbook. And I don't know if that is proven or not. Close and lock all windows, exterior doors, and openings to the outside. It is best to be in a room where you have a landline, a telephone with a hard wire. If you have voicemail, you should change that recording. And also listen to the radio or TV until you hear that it is safe. In terms of types of buildings, the best types of buildings, obviously, if you're already inside, you're probably not going to move, but houses with basements, large multi-story structures, closed parking garages and tunnels. Single-story homes with no basement and cars or vehicles would be minimally adequate. You can also build additional shielding into the outer walls of the building if possible. And if you need to evacuate, essentially you don't want to travel with the radiation, so you don't want to be driving away from the site with the radioactive dust following you. You should take disaster supplies with you, turn everything off and lock it up, including the furnace, and assist the elderly and disabled. And a lot of that information is again from the Planning Guidance for Response to a Nuclear Detonation by the Federal Interagency Committee led by the Executive Office of the President and FEMA. And that can be located on the CDC website. If you are near the blast when it occurs, turn away, cover your eyes, drop to the ground face down, and place your hands under your body. Remain flat until 2 shock waves passed. If you are outside, find something to cover your mouth. Remove any dust from your clothes while covering your mouth and nose, and then shower and shelter if possible. There are also websites with the nuclear power plant evacuation zones. I think that this is the website, the CDC website. There's one on learning how to evacuate, and that is under the subset of radiation information. And let's see, the title of that would be Stay Tuned to Learn How to Evacuate on the CDC website, and has information about returning home, when to evacuate, evacuating with pets, In terms of when to evacuate, the decisions will be based on wind speed and direction, radiation levels, whether or not the roads are good. The officials will tell you when to go to a shelter, where they're located. Each situation is going to be different. They do verify, turn off the air conditionings and heating systems. If you are in a car when you're evacuating, keep the windows closed and the ventilation turned off. And also, if you are evacuating with pets, they're not usually allowed into shelters, and so you need to find one that will accept pets in the shelter, bring cages and so forth. In terms of returning home, do not return home till it's safe to do so by authorities, and so on and so forth. And then this link right here is locating nuclear power plant evacuation zones, and hopefully this one is working. But essentially it will, if you click on each one, typically it will show you a little circle with the evacuation information on it. But that'll tell you where nuclear power plants are and whether you need to evacuate that area. Other resources that I use for this information would be Nuclear War Survival Skills, Chapter 5 on shelter, and also Nuclear Terrorism, Triage and Medical Management of Radiation and Combined Injury Casualties, by Flynn from Surgical Clinics of North America. And if I could show you Chapter 5 on this chapter. So this is a book. It is available free to download in either a website form or in a PDF. And you can, it's kind of a large document. If you're downloading the entire thing, it takes a long time depending on your connection, or you can download it one chapter at a time, or this website. And this gives you a lot of detailed information about nuclear radiation shelters and so forth. Obviously you're not going to have time to necessarily build one yourself if you're already in a situation. But there is some information about, like stacking the books against the wall so that you're creating a larger barrier between yourself and the radiation on the outside. So that's about it for shelter information. You can find further information at ibiblio.org/rcip/nuclear.html. The author of this site is not a nuclear radiation expert or scientist. All of this information is based on readings that I have done from various websites and research materials. The materials and other information provided are for educational, communication, and information purposes only, and are not intended to replace or constitute medical advice or treatments. This information is intended to be accurate, but errors sometimes occur. The author disclaims any warranty of any kind, whether express or implied, as to any matter whatsoever relating to the service or information. And the rest of that disclaimer is available on the website. And have a great day. Thank you.